Welcome to the Facilitators Deep Dive Podcast, your podcast on your way to facilitation mastery.
Welcome to our deep dive today. We're going to be looking at Troika consulting. You've shared some fascinating material from the Liberating Structures website.
Yes.
And it looks like just a total goldmine of innovative collaboration techniques. So today we're going to explore how Troika consulting works, why it's so effective, and how you can actually implement it in your own life.
Sounds good. Yeah, it's a very clever technique for tapping into the collective wisdom of your peers to address challenges and unlock those creative solutions.
I love that name, Troika consulting.
Yeah.
It's catchy. But why the Russian reference?
Well, so the term Troika traditionally refers to a three-horse team, pulling a sleigh in the snow, symbolizing that collaborative power. And in this context, it's used, the Troika represents the three individuals involved in the process. You have one person, the client, who is seeking advice, and then you have the other two acting as consultants.
Okay, so let's unpack this. How does this three-person team actually work its magic?
Well, the process is surprisingly simple, yet remarkably effective.
Okay.
And the Liberating Structures website outlines 5 clear steps to follow. So first, you, the client, need to clearly articulate the challenge you're facing.
Right.
And determine what kind of help you're seeking.
Okay.
From there, you would form a Troika with 2 individuals.
Got it.
And it's really important that these individuals come from diverse backgrounds and experiences.
So not just your usual go-to people.
Exactly. You want that variety of perspectives.
Okay, so then what?
Then it gets interesting. So as the client, you would present your challenge to your consultants. And they, in turn, ask clarifying questions to really get a deeper understanding.
Okay.
But here's the twist.
Yeah.
You then, as the client, turn your back to the consultants.
What?
While they brainstorm advice and solutions.
Turning your back. Now that seems a bit odd. I would think you'd want to be facing the people giving you advice. Why is that step so important?
It's really all about shifting the dynamics of the conversation. You see, when you're facing your consultants, it's very easy to fall into the trap of dominating the conversation, defending your position, or even unconsciously influencing their responses.
Oh, yeah.
So by turning your back, you're forcing yourself to truly listen without interruption and fully absorb those insights.
Okay.
Additionally, the consultants also feel much more empowered to be honest and offer maybe even unconventional advice without worrying about your immediate reaction.
Like creating a safe space for unfiltered feedback.
Exactly.
You're literally turning away from your usual defenses. You know, I remember reading a study about how active listening without immediate response can dramatically improve the quality of feedback.
Yeah.
Because it forces the listener to fully engage with the speaker's ideas without preparing a rebuttal.
You're absolutely right. And that's a brilliant connection because it really is fascinating how just a subtle shift in posture can have such a profound impact on the way we communicate and process information. And this is really a hallmark of liberating structures. So they're designed to be so simple to grasp and implement.
Yeah.
Yet they often produce such unexpected results.
So beyond the intriguing name and unconventional process, what makes Troika consulting so effective? What are some of the benefits it offers?
I think one of the biggest benefits is that it really sharpens your ability to articulate your challenges clearly and concisely. Instead of just lamenting a problem, you're forced to really break it down, identify the root cause.
Okay.
And determine what kind of support you actually need to overcome it.
So it's almost like pre-problem solving, like setting the stage for success.
Precisely. And then on the flip side, it also develops your active listening and consulting skills.
Yeah.
You're learning to ask insightful questions,
Right.
to challenge assumptions, and to offer constructive feedback without falling into that trap of giving really generic advice.
I'm curious, have you personally experienced a situation where Troika consulting led to like a breakthrough
Oh, absolutely.
that you wouldn't have reached on your own?
Yeah, I was working on a project once that had hit a major roadblock, and I was so focused on the technical aspects. I couldn't see the forest for the trees. So I decided to try Troika consulting with 2 colleagues from different departments. And to my surprise, they quickly identified a fundamental flaw in my approach that I had completely overlooked.
Wow.
And their outsider perspective helped me to reframe the problem
Yeah.
and ultimately come up with a much more elegant solution.
That's a perfect example of how diverse perspectives can really make a difference.
Yeah.
It's like that saying, two heads are better than one. But in this case, three heads with completely different backgrounds are even better. Now, think about your own situation for a second. What's a challenge you're facing right now where Troika consulting could be like your secret weapon? And it doesn't have to be something at work. It could be a creative block, a personal dilemma, anything, really.
Yeah, and remember, the key is to choose your Troika wisely. Don't just go for the people who always agree with you. Seek out those who will challenge your assumptions.
Right.
Offer fresh perspectives, and that diversity is key here.
I have a confession. I used to think this kind of structured collaboration was only for like big corporations or really formal teams.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought this wouldn't work in my everyday life. But now I see how wrong I was. This could be so helpful in so many different situations.
You're absolutely right. Imagine using Troika consulting with your friends to maybe navigate a tricky decision, or with fellow students to brainstorm study strategies.
Yeah.
Or even with community members to address a local issue. The possibilities are truly endless.
Okay, so you've identified a challenge, you've assembled your dream team. Now, how do you actually initiate this Troika consulting thing? Like, do you need a special invitation or a set agenda?
Not at all. It's much simpler than you might think. You don't need a fancy conference room or a PowerPoint presentation.
Oh.
Just approach it as a casual but focused conversation. You can simply say, hey, I'm trying out this interesting technique called Troika consulting, where we can help each other find solutions. Would you be up for giving it a shot?
It's almost like inviting someone to grab coffee.
Right.
But with a purpose. Now, let's say you've got your Troika assembled and ready to roll. What are some keys to making this a successful session? What are like the insider tips?
Well, setting the right tone is crucial. Make sure everyone feels comfortable, respected, and that their contributions are truly valued. Remind each other to be constructive and supportive with your feedback. The goal is to leave that session feeling empowered and motivated, not criticized or deflated.
That's a really important point. It's about striking that balance between honesty and encouragement. And I'm also a big believer in the power of active listening, especially in this context. As the client, resist that urge to interrupt, to defend yourself, or to jump in with solutions right away.
Right.
Just absorb those different viewpoints. It's amazing how simply hearing someone else articulate your problem in a new way can spark a whole new train of thought.
You're hitting on a crucial point. Sometimes the most valuable insights really do come from simply allowing ourselves to fully hear what others have to say without immediately filtering it through our own biases or preconceived notions.
Now let's talk about step 4, that turning your back part.
Yeah.
I know it still feels strange, but trust the process.
It's the process.
It's like hitting the pause button on your reactions, giving you that space to truly process what you're hearing without any knee-jerk defensiveness.
And remember, it also gives the consultants the freedom to brainstorm more openly and creatively. They don't have to worry about stepping on toes or triggering an immediate emotional response.
It's almost like forced attentiveness, which, let's be honest, is something we could all use a little more of in today's hyper-distracted world.
Absolutely.
Okay, you've listened intently, you've turned back around, now what?
Now comes the real magic. This is your chance as the client to reflect on what you've heard. What were the aha moments? Which suggestions truly resonated with you? Don't hold back. Share your thoughts openly and honestly.
It's like sifting through a treasure chest of ideas.
Yeah.
And picking out the gems that really spark something within you.
Exactly. And it's also an opportunity for the consultants to understand how their insights landed. It really closes the loop on that feedback process.
So, in a nutshell, Troika consulting is about harnessing the power of collective wisdom, challenging your assumptions, and coming up with some actionable solutions. But as with any powerful tool, there are potential pitfalls. How can we make sure our experience is truly effective and not a complete disaster? Stay tuned for part 3, where we delve into those potential pitfalls and how to navigate them successfully.
Welcome back. We're wrapping up our deep dive on Troika consulting. We've explored the process, the benefits, even how to get started.
Yeah.
But like with any tool, right, there are some potential potential pitfalls to watch out for.
Absolutely.
So how do we make sure that this experience is actually helpful and not a total disaster?
Right. We need to be mindful of those potential downsides to ensure a truly productive and insightful experience.
Okay, so the source material mentions things like consultants jumping to conclusions or giving biased advice, or even just not really hitting the mark with their suggestions. How do we avoid these traps? I think it all starts with creating that safe and respectful space we've talked about, where honesty and open communication are crucial. If people don't feel comfortable sharing their thoughts freely, then the whole process kind of breaks down.
So setting some ground rules from the beginning is key.
Yeah.
Like no judgment, no interrupting, active listening. Everyone's opinions are valued.
Exactly.
Now, what about bias? Because, we all have our own experiences and perspectives that can sometimes unintentionally influence the advice we give.
That's true. And that's where having a diverse Troika can be incredibly helpful, because these different viewpoints, they can really challenge those assumptions and uncover blind spots that you might not have noticed on your own.
It's like having multiple lenses to view the situation through.
Exactly.
And what about those times when the advice just doesn't resonate or it feels, too generic?
Right. Well, that's where those clarifying questions come in. As the client, don't hesitate to probe deeper. Ask for specific examples, or even reframe your challenge if you need to.
Yeah.
Remember, it's a collaborative conversation, not a one-way lecture.
So it's about making sure that everyone's on the same page.
Yeah.
Really understanding the nuances of your specific challenge.
Right.
So as a consultant, it's important to resist that urge to jump in with solutions right away.
Yeah.
Really listen carefully, ask those thoughtful questions, and tailor your advice to that person's unique situation.
Exactly. It's about being a thoughtful partner in the problem-solving process, not just like a dispenser of generic advice.
Now, the source material also mentions these riffs and variations of Troika consulting.
Well,
What's
yeah.
that all about?
That's where things get really exciting.
Yeah.
Imagine combining Troika consulting with other liberating structures to supercharge your problem-solving abilities. The possibilities are really endless.
Like creating a custom toolkit for tackling any challenge.
Precisely. For example, you could integrate 15% solutions,
Okay.
where each person identifies a small step that they can take immediately to start moving forward.
Okay.
And then the Troika can actually help refine those action plans.
So it's not just about brainstorming, it's about translating those ideas into concrete actions.
Absolutely.
Now, that's what I call a truly empowering approach.
Yeah. And remember, the beauty of these liberating structures is their adaptability. You can experiment, adjust, discover what works best for you and your team.
Well, there you have it. We've reached the end of our Troika Consulting deep dive. We've explored the process, the benefits, the pitfalls, even some exciting ways to customize this technique.
And now it's your turn
Yeah.
to put this knowledge into action. Gather your trusted allies, embrace those diverse perspectives, and unlock the power of collaborative problem solving.
Until next time, keep driving deep and keep those creative sparks flying.
See you next time on the Facilitators Deep Dive Podcast, your podcast on your way to facilitation mastery. Until next time.
See you then.